world doesn't really reward losers, so might as well win if you want to get in.
It is a victory Monday, and the Jaguars definitely needed a win. Foye Oluokun nailed it right on the head. Welcome into Teal, the show. I'm Jamal St. Cyr alongside Frank Frangie. Frank, we spent all of December looking for a victory Monday, and it took January for us to finally get one.
And boy, did this team need this. There's no question. This is a football team that really needed to win this football game. They needed to feel the way it felt. They needed to play the way they played. Look, sometimes a basketball player just needs to see it go through the hoop, and then he plays a little better. Well, this team needed to see it go through the hoop. Once they got playing better, they needed to start well. They needed to play a good game. They needed to play a physical game, and I thought they did. That was a good win. And look, now all their goals are still in front of them, but they had to get that one win. They had to get off the schneid a little bit. Good win for the Jags.
Definitely a good day for the team and a good way to start the new year. Welcome to 2024 with a victory Monday. So we're going to talk a little bit about what's next for the Jaguars later on in the show, but we got to start off with the record-setting day it was at the bank for the Jags. Let's start with Evan Ingram. Early on in the day, Evan Ingram got his 100th catch of the season, just the 8th tight end in NFL history to hit catch number 100. Evan said he knew it was there and that he was close to it. He says he's going to save that jersey and hang it at his house one day.
I'll be able to really frame the jersey, put a little plaque on it. The ball is over there somewhere. We'll find it. But
okay, now that you've passed it, will you keep it count? Did you know you were
I mean, I knew I was at 98, and all my friends and family, you know, they're here. My trainers and everybody that's been a part of the journey, obviously, they let me know. I try to just stay ready to go get the win. That's kind of was my mindset, but I definitely knew where I was at, and I knew when I caught it, too. It was nice.
Definitely a great moment there for Evan Ingram. He's having a fantastic season. He's just 12 catches away from tying the Jaguars' single-season catch record set by Jimmy Smith. And if he gets those 12 catches, he would also tie Zach Ertz, who has the single-season record for most catches in NFL history by a tight end.
He's a great story, too. If you think about the Evan Ingram story, he was so disenchanted with what happened with the Giants. He almost thought about giving up football. He was frustrated. He came here, and he's been so happy since he got here, which is why he signed the extension. And look, he's kind of saved their season. Christian Kirk's one of the most important players on the team, and he got hurt. Zay Jones, a great leader, great player, has played hurt and been down a lot. Evan Ingram has been that security blanket for whichever quarterback has played, and he's been a really good player for them, man. So imagine this football season, which I still think they're going to the playoffs because I think they're going to win this week. Imagine this football season if they didn't have Evan Ingram. What a very, very critically important part of the team. And, yeah, to be one of only 8 tight ends in the history of the sport with 100 catches, good for Evan. He deserved every bit of that.
And that's only taking into account what he does on the field, not the leader he is in that locker room off the field. Evan Ingram is definitely a big piece for this Jaguars team on and off the field, all the things he does. Now, another guy who has been dynamic for the Jaguars this season, Josh Allen. We've been talking about him week in and week out because he just keeps getting to the quarterback. He is now officially the Jaguars' single-season sack record holder, finally moving past his mentor, Calais Campbell. What a moment there for Josh Allen. Calais Campbell almost passing the torch again to Josh Allen.
We have an opportunity, guys that do what you and I do, to meet these guys. You know, and fans get to meet them with autographs, but we're privileged, and I mean that very sincerely. We're privileged and honored to get to meet these guys. I really believe this. Josh Allen is such a good dude. He is such a good person, calls everybody by name, smiles when he sees you. If you see Josh Allen at training camp, he'll walk over and say, hello, Frank, how's your summer been, blah, blah, blah. He is such a good person. And how fitting that the guy that broke the record of a really good person, Calais Campbell, was a really good person in Josh Allen. I got to tell you, Jamal, I was as happy for him and happy that happened as anything that's happened individually for the Jags in a long, long time. Who doesn't really like Josh Allen? I hope they sign him to a big contract, and I hope he finishes his career here because I think that's what he wants to do. A great moment for Josh Allen. That made me really happy, and I think it made a lot of Jaguar fans happy, too.
Seeing the success that Josh has is well-deserved. He's worked hard for it, and he is definitely a good person on and off the field. I got a stat for you, Frank, and this one is a really cool one. All right. Josh now has 4 games this season of 2.5 or more sacks. The only other player to do that since sacks became an official stat by the NFL, Lawrence Taylor.
Is he good? Was he good?
I think he was pretty good.
That LT guy was pretty good?
That LT guy might have done something.
How about that? You share, I didn't know that stat. You share a stat with, by far, the best pass rusher in the history of the sport. That's pretty good stuff.
Hey, when you're in that conversation, you start throwing around that LT thing.
Yeah, that's right.
It's normally pretty good company. All right, a guy that's not filling the stat sheets, but he's helping maybe some of the other players on the Jaguars offense fill the stat sheets, Cam Robinson. Cam was back out on the field for the Jaguars after a brief absence, spent some time on the injured reserve. Team got him back. The Jaguars have a better record out on the field when Cam plays this season. It's just a fact. It's a stat. But Cam Robinson says he doesn't like that stat because he's just another player doing his job out on the field.
I mean, I keep hearing people mention that, but I'm not really a fan of it because it insinuates that I'm like a key or I'm just gonna do my job. Whenever I'm healthy and able to play, I'm gonna do my job, and I'm gonna try to just provide a spark and just be myself, and yeah.
Look, Cam's definitely saying the right things,
right.
but it is true. The offensive line is better when he's out there on the field. There's something that he just brings to this team.
They need his orneriness. They need a guy that gets ticked off. They need a guy that Cam probably wishes he didn't throw a guy's helmet and they got back and forth. But they need that. I think his presence, his ornery, his toughness, his sassiness. Your football team needs that, man. I think they're a different team, a different line for sure, and a different football team when Cam Robinson is on that field. I loved it. I loved seeing the way he played. And I don't think that stat's a mistake. The fact that they're 7-1 when Cam Robinson plays in the game, and they've lost a bunch of games when he doesn't, that's not an accident. That's not a coincidence. Cam Robinson, a big part of this team. It was great seeing him back, and great knowing he's going to be back for how long they go now.
Yeah. Cam Robinson definitely brings that orneriness to the Jaguars offensive line, and you know what? You love to see it out on the field. He definitely got rained with cheers after he was sent into the locker room.
Oh, and the kisses, it was awesome.
He loved it and says he loves Jacksonville and loves Jaguars fans, and you can see that they love him back. All right, we've reached the time of year where we got to start talking about playoff implications, good and possibly bad. So we'll talk more about that, what the Jaguars need to do to make sure they're in the postseason. That's straight ahead right after this quick break. All right, welcome back here into Teal, the show. We've reached one game left in the regular season. Jaguars haven't locked up a playoff spot just yet, so there are some things that can happen. Now, of course, Frank, the easiest road to the playoffs, all they got to do is go take care of business against the Tennessee Titans and their AFC South champions. First time in the AFC South's history that the Jaguars will be back-to-back division champs. Now, they've done it once before, but that was with the AFC Central.
Correct.
The only other time that the Jaguars have repeated as division champs.
And it was in the 90s.
And it was in the 90s.
That's how long ago it's been. It's pretty hard to believe. I'll tell you this, Jamal. There's two great positions to be in with 1 week left in the regular season. The first is to have clinched. The best one is you've already clinched, you're already in. The next best position to be in is you control your destiny, and you're in if you win, and you don't have to worry about what anybody else does, and they're in that spot. So you'd love to already have it clinched. If not, you'd love to be in a spot where if you win the game, you are in, and that's where they are. So we can get to wild card in a second. But look, win and in. That was the same case last year. Beat the Titans and in, they beat the Titans. Beat the Titans again and you're in. Now, it's not going to be easy. You got to do it on the road. And Tennessee would love to spoil the fun for Jacksonville. But they're one win away. They still control their destiny no matter how much stuff went bad, and that's a great spot to be in.
All right, since you mentioned the 90s, Frank, I got another stat for you. Do you know the last time the Jaguars beat the Titans 4 times in a row?
Tell me.
They were the Tennessee Oilers.
How about that?
It was that long ago.
It was that long ago.
That was the last time. And if the Jaguars win on Sunday, they will have beaten the Titans 4 times in a row.
Well, that's the magic of what's happening here is that's been the bugaboo. That if you finally get it going, if you win a division back-to-back times for the first time, the second time ever, first time since the 90s, if you certainly become, you're going back-to-back winning seasons, you've already done that for the first time since 04-05. If you now get in again, it's almost fitting that 2 years in a row, you had to beat your arch rival to do so. Think about that. 2 years in a row, you would have had to beat the team that's been your bugaboo forever to get in. It almost feels like that's the way it ought to be, and it looks like that's the way it's going to be this year.
All right, so there is one other path for the Jaguars into the postseason. If they lost to the Titans, this is only if they lose, then we have to start thinking wild card. Now, for the wild card, they need a little bit of help. So there's a game on Saturday that a lot of folks in Jacksonville are going to care about, and that's the Steelers-Ravens game. Ravens have already locked up the #1 seed, so we'll have to wait and see just how long some of their stars play. But the Jaguars would need the Ravens to win that game and the Steelers to lose, plus the Raiders-Broncos, and you need the Raiders to beat the Broncos. You need both of the home teams in those games.
The Saturday game makes me nervous because the Ravens are not going to play anybody. The Ravens, now they don't want to be swept by the Steelers because there's some pride involved. The Ravens hate the Steelers hate the Ravens, and if they lose to the Steelers, they will have been swept by them, but I don't think anyone's playing. The Steelers kind of found something with Mason Rudolph as their quarterback, so they're playing better, and the Ravens, I don't think, are playing anybody, so that's a bad situation. I think the Jags are going to have to win the game against Tennessee to get into the playoffs. I know the wild card is there, but I think between the Broncos and the Steelers, one of them are going to win. And again, the worst thing that happens for the Jags is the Ravens have home field throughout. They've clinched the #1 seed. Why would they play Lamar? Why would they play their good players? Logic says you're better off to not even dress them out, and that means it helps the Steelers. So I think the Jags, by the time we get to Sunday at 1 o'clock, Jamal, I think the Jags are going to have to win that game to get in. I think that's where they're going to be.
I agree with you. I think it's the simplest path, and that's going to look like possibly be the only path for the Jaguars. Win, and you're in. So all roads look like they're going to lead through Tennessee just like it was last year. You know, you don't normally get a reboot just a year later, but the Jaguars just said, you know what, we liked the way last year ended, do it again.
And let me say this. The Jags are better than the Titans. We saw that when they played. The Jags have won these games against teams with losing records. The problem, when the Jags lost 4 games in a row, they ran into good teams. Cleveland is a really good team. Tampa Bay's playing at a great level, even though they lost to the Saints this week. They're playing at a great level. Cincinnati was playing great. They were still thinking playoffs. And obviously, Baltimore might be the best team in the league. So the teams they ran into were good teams. When they run into a team that's not as good, they generally take care of business, and that's the case with the Titans. Now, the Titans will play awfully hard. They're going to try and ruin it for the Jags, just like the Jags did a few years ago for the Colts. But the Jags have the better team, and they should beat the Tennessee Titans.
The Jaguars definitely should take care of business. We'll see if they can get it done. Hey, Frank, thanks for being here. Thank you at home for tuning in. Happy New Year, everybody. Good night, and go Jags.